Okay, let's dive straight into this explainer. Today we're going to completely demystify the somewhat intimidating math behind building a reliable backup solar system for your perishables. Seriously, if you've ever stared at a solar panel and wondered exactly how many of those things you actually need to keep your milk from spoiling, well, you're in exactly the right place.
Think about it. Whether you're a hardcore, off-grid enthusiast heading deep into the wilderness, or you're just looking to prep for a sudden, unexpected home power outage, this is the absolute nightmare scenario we want to solve today. I mean, nobody wants to eat warm mayonnaise during a blackout, right? Keeping your food safe requires constant, reliable power, and guessing your energy needs just isn't an option.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to quickly cover 6 key areas: powering the off-grid fridge, calculating initial power draw, measuring true daily consumption, sizing batteries for autonomy, calculating solar panel wattage, and finally, putting together a real-world practical setup. We'll track 2 examples, a little tailgate cooler and a massive home fridge, to give you a foolproof blueprint.
All right, part 1, powering the off-grid fridge with our 5-step blueprint. Refrigerators are uniquely tricky little machines to power.
Here is the exact step-by-step game plan we're going to conquer to translate raw, boring numbers into physical survival gear. Step 1, determine your continuous and surge power. Step 2, measure daily consumption. Step 3, account for inverter losses. Step 4, size for autonomy. And Step 5, calculate the solar panels. Sticking to these 5 steps is absolutely crucial to make sure you don't accidentally overload your expensive equipment. Moving right along to part 2, calculating initial power draw, which means finding your base load. This all starts by checking out those little specification plates on the back of your appliances.
Just look at the stark contrast between our 2 examples here. For our small tailgater chest fridge, the spec plate lists volts and amps. Simply multiply 115 volts by 1.7 amps and boom, you get a 196-watt continuous load. Pretty simple. But for our home prepper full-size unit, you usually have to add up multiple parameters, like 290, 165, and 40, giving us a much heavier continuous load of 495 watts.
But hold on, you can't just stop at that continuous load number. We have to talk about surge power. Think of it like a heavy sleeper waking up. The fridge literally jumps when it kicks on. Whenever that compressor starts up, it demands a massive, super brief burst of inrush current that shoots way past that base wattage we just figured out.
So here's the golden rule. You want to use a safety factor of 3 when comparing those surge numbers to your system's overall capacity. Multiply your base by 3. If you skip this, I guarantee that sudden startup draw will instantly trip your circuit breaker and your food is going to be sitting in the dark. No way around it.
Okay, part 3, measuring true daily consumption over a full 24-hour cycle. Let's figure out what these things actually eat in a day. Now you might be thinking, well, I'll just multiply the max power by 24 hours. Actually, scratch that. That's a huge rookie mistake. A refrigerator is almost like a living thing. It takes periods of rest when it's totally quiet, and it has periods of thirst when it's actively cooling. Because it cycles on and off all day, simple multiplication will give you a wildly inaccurate, massively inflated number.
To really know what's going on, you need to plug it into a kilowatt meter for a full day. We looked at a real-world trial where the door was opened 5 times for 20 seconds each, to simulate real life. The small unit used 230 watt-hours, while the big, full-size unit chewed through 900 watt-hours over the day. And keep in mind, that energy usage spikes dramatically if you're standing there with the door wide open, staring blankly at your snacks.
But wait, we aren't quite done with our daily total yet, because we have an invisible energy thief, the inverter. If you're running AC power through an inverter, you've got idle consumption. A small inverter loses about 250 watt-hours a day just keeping its own lights on. And a larger one? That can bleed 500 watt-hours or more every single day. That really adds up.
Let's tally the whole thing up. When we combine the appliance's hunger with the inverter's energy loss, we get our true daily target. Our small setup needs 480 watt-hours a day. But look at the leap for the large setup. Once you factor in that huge inverter tax, the requirement jumps up to a hefty 1,400 watt-hours every single day. Which brings us to part 4, sizing batteries for autonomy, or as I like to think of it, surviving the storm. Let's plan for when the sun simply refuses to shine. There's that magic number 3 again. Best practice in the off-grid world dictates that you size your battery bank for 3 full days of autonomous running.
That 3-day buffer is exactly what you need to safely ride out extended cloudy weather or multi-day storms without losing a single perishable item.
So you multiply your daily need by 3, and the difference in battery banks is just staggering. The small fridge needs a completely manageable 1,440 watt-hours of capacity, but the large fridge, you're looking at over 4,200 watt-hours of capacity. To put that in perspective, that is a seriously massive and likely expensive battery bank.
Onward to part 5, calculating solar panel wattage. Time to actually harvest the sun. We know our battery sizes now, but how many solar panels does it take to fill them back up?
To figure this out, you have to know your peak sun hours. This isn't just how long the sun is in the sky, it's the highly usable, direct sunlight for your exact zip code. You can easily find this mapped out by the National Renewable Energy Lab. You've got to divide your daily energy needs by this specific number. For our math today, let's just use the average for Illinois, which sits right at 4.2 hours.
Here's where the rubber meets the road. Divide your battery capacity by those 4.2 peak sun hours. That tells us the small setup needs around 343 watts of dedicated solar input. Meanwhile, to keep that large home prepper setup topped off, you need a full 1,000 watts, a solid kilowatt of solar power.
And finally, part 6, real-world practical setup. Let's put it all together, step out of the textbook, and translate this math into a physical rig you can actually build in your backyard.
For the small system, we needed 343 watts on paper. In the real world, we'd grab 4 100-watt solar panels, wire them in a series parallel configuration, and you're pulling in roughly 360 to 400 watts. That little bit of overkill is awesome. It acts as a perfect safety net, easily making up for it if your portable batteries are running slightly under capacity.
But for the home prepper, you can't just throw dozens of tiny panels on your lawn. You need the big guns, arrays of high-wattage panels. A practical way to do this is stringing 3 massive 395-watt panels together, wired in series. This brute forces your way right past that 1,000-watt generation mark, meaning you get the juice you need even when light clouds try to ruin your day.
And honestly, that is the whole shebang right there. The secret sauce to a bulletproof system is realizing that theoretical math only works when you strictly account for the startup surges, the sneaky inverter losses, and the wild card of weather variables. When you respect the living, cycling nature of your fridge and pad your numbers from Mother Nature's curveballs, you completely eliminate the guesswork.
So, what does this all mean for you? Well, you've got the exact blueprint now. From tracking down your continuous load to wiring up real-world panels, you have the knowledge to protect your food no matter what the grid throws at you. The math might seem a bit much at first, but it is incredibly empowering. So, armed with these numbers, are you finally ready to take your fridge off the grid?